Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I want to use this opportunity to thank you for staying up to this time to listen to my talk. My name is Michael Batame, a graduate student at the University of Georgia, and I'm here to present on my talk, which is a geographical mapping and characterization of food resources on a Ghanaian university. Yeah, thank you. And I happen to be a co-author on this paper, which was actually a collaboration between University of Ghana Youth Mappers and then a PhD student at the University of Warwick in the UK. So in this presentation, you're going to look at the background of the study, the objectives, the methodology, the key findings, and conclusion. So without much ado, with the background, according to World Health Organization 2020, the global obesity prevalence tripled between 1975 and 2016. And one of the key components or the key contributor is unhealthy food environment, which is being supplied by unhealthy diets which affect people. And one may ask, what is food environment? So food environment is the interface where individuals interact with wider food system, either to procure food or to consume food. And this later has implication for health outcomes. So according to ECHI 2017, adults, especially the emerging ones between the ages 18 years and 25 years, have been found to engage in adapting unhealthy food habits and also eating nutritionally poor food. And most of the times, these individuals are mostly in the universities. However, there are limited studies on mapping and assessing the healthiness of an university food environment, especially in developing countries like Ghana. And this research is significant as it goes a long way to create sustainable, healthy food environments and thereby influence promoting good eating habits among the students in the universities. So the objectives were two. One was to identify and map the distribution of food outlets within the University of Ghana campus. And the second was to assess the healthiness of the various food outlets distributed over the University of Ghana campus. So the study area is University of Ghana, which is shown in Figure 1, is the largest and the oldest public university in Ghana. And within the campus, we have a botanical garden. And as of 2020, the total population of this university was 39,249, including undergraduate students and graduate students. With the methodology, we adopted systematic approach. For the data collection, we broke it down into 3 phases. So the first phase was remote mapping, which we created an OSM, Hot Task Manager project, and we collaborated with the University of Ghana Youth Mappers to do the online digitalization of all the structures on campus. So once we did that, so we used the ID editor and JOSM. So once we were able to complete this task, we printed the output in the form of field maps. Then the second phase was the ground truth, in which we used the printed out field papers, which we believed was kind of more accurate than handheld GPS. And also, it also gives the users the opportunity to provide edits on the paper and later make the updates online. So with that, we move on to the third phase, which is the food outlet survey, where we use the ODK, which is Open Data Kits. So in which we mapped out the various food vendors on campus and also took some information about the food outlet, whether it is a traditional sit-down restaurant, whether it's a food court, whether they sell fruit, whether they sell which kind of food they sell. So after that, we analyzed the data, which we used geocoding and the food retail environment spatial distribution analysis in QGIS. We also did neighborhood analysis. And thirdly, we also looked at the outlets assessment, healthiness assessment, where we categorized it into 3, where we had the NCD, which means non-communicable diseases, unhealthy, healthy, and intermediate. So what we mean by healthy is those are the food vendors who sold food which were basically plant-based food as their major menu. And the unhealthy ones were those who were not selling the plant-based, but basically ultra-processed food. And the intermediates were those who were neither purely healthy nor purely unhealthy. So this is the figure, the University of Ghana Youth Mappers over there when we were training them on how to do the online mapping and also how to do the field verification. So the lady down there was just doing the filled paper verification, and up there is the filled paper. So you can see some two boxes up there where we have the pencil. So those are the new structures that were not captured during the online mapping. But because the filled paper enabled us to put the buildings that were not captured online into the paper. So, and the barcode over there has the embedded geocoordinates of these structures. So once we're done with all the various filled papers, we took pictures of them and uploaded into the OSM filled papers, then we updated the online map. So with the results, for the objective 1, that is distribution of structures on the University of Ghana campus. So figure 2 shows the distribution of it. So we identify various types of food outlets. So we identify about 138 food outlets, of which they were not evenly distributed. And some of these food outlets were convenience store, drinking bars, courts, and some buildings, department, and so forth and so on. And majority of these outlets that we mapped out were basically food service places. So now we look at the objective 2, which is the healthiness of these identified or the mapped structures. So we found, as you can see in figure 3, so the green represents healthy, yellow represents intermediate, and red represents unhealthy. So about 50% of them were unhealthy, 9.4% were intermediate, and 39.8% were healthy food structures. Now we are going to zoom into the distribution, the spatial distribution of the unhealthy food environment on campus. So figure 4, which is the kernel density map showing the concentration of NDC NCD unhealthy food environment outlets. So the deep red over there shows high density of unhealthy food. The kind of in between is the medium, and the other one is the low density. So you can see that towards the southern part of campus had the highest unhealthy food environment, and which is basically close to the students, where the students reside. And the middle dot you see there is where mostly students buy food from. So it sends a signal that that place mostly sells unhealthy food stuff. And towards the central part of campus too is middle, or the medium low density unhealthy food. That is where most of these student housing are placed. And when you move to the northern part, which is low density, that's where we have the departments and other residential areas. So now we are going to look at the healthiness of the food outlets within 100-meter buffer, 200-meter buffer, 500-meter buffer around the student residence. So figure 5A shows the healthy, unhealthy, the intermediate, but we'll pay much attention to the healthy and unhealthy. So the figure A is 100-meter buffer, figure B is 200-meter buffer, then figure C is 500-meter buffer. So when we look at the NCD unhealthy food outlets, about 89% of the mapped food outlets were within 100-meter buffer. Also, when we did the 200-meter buffer, we found that 189% of them within it. Then 98% were within the 500-meter buffer. When we look at the healthy food environment, 85% were within 100 and 200-meter buffer, and 94 were within the 500-meter buffer. So now let's flip the coin and look at what happens to the department buildings. So the same scenario, the A represents 100-meter buffer, B represents 200-meter buffer, then C represents 500-meter buffer. So over here, 46% of these mapped areas of the unhealthy food outlet were within 100-meter buffer, 64 were within 200-meter buffer, and 94 were within 500-meter buffer. When you look at the healthy food outlets, 32% were within 100-meter buffer, 48 were within 200, and 74 were within 500-meter buffer. So in conclusion, we can see that nearly more than half of the identified food outlets were unhealthy, which suggests that the University of Ghana has a less healthy food environment. And this research has an overall impact on further research and policy intervention, which could be identify environmental risk factors associated with unhealthy food behaviors, overweight or obesity, then NCDs and other health outcomes among university students in Ghana during long term. Then these are the references, and thank you very much for your audience.